Hello, I'm Sarah from South London Sling Library, and today I'd like to show you how to use the Artipoppe Zeitgeist Carrier with a smaller baby. I say smaller baby because this carrier does not fit a newborn. So if you're here because you've got a Zeitgeist and you're trying to get it to fit your newborn, then I'm afraid it doesn't generally fit until around the sort of 2 to 3 month mark. Once your baby's started to get a bit bigger, a bit chunkier. And what I'm going to do is use one of my bigger babies, and I'm going to show you how to put it on and how to go through your ticks safety guidelines. And then what you can do is absolutely have a go with whichever size baby you've got. And if you can tick all of your safety boxes and you're happy that it's safe according to the ticks guidelines, then it's absolutely fine. So here's the Artipoppe Zeitgeist Carrier. It's been very kindly lent to me by a client. And what I'm going to do is I've already set it at the waistband here. In fact, I didn't set it. The client who lent it to me set it. So down at the waistband, just inside here, you've got a little pocket that has some poppers. Now this is to make the seat bigger and smaller according to the size of your baby. So when you first use it with your smaller baby, you're going to want it on the smallest size setting. So undo the poppers at the sides, squish the fabric all the way into the middle, and you want to do up one popper. You've got 4 options, 1, 2, 3, 4 on each side. So if you squish the fabric all the way into the middle and then do up one popper, you'll have 3 left over. And you're going to do that on both sides. And then as the baby gets, and those magnets are really nice. It's got some magnets in there to close that little pocket. That's a really snazzy bit. Anyway, sorry, I'm so nerdy. So yeah, once you've done that, the seat is then on its smallest size setting. As your baby grows, you can then move it out a popper at a time. So you'll go from having 1 popper done up on each side to having 2 done up, 3 done up, and then all 4 done up on both sides when it's at its widest. The seat is at its widest seat setting. From there, if you hold the carrier, this is what I would describe as upside down and inside out. So I'm holding it by the waistband, so the carrier is upside down. I've got the outside of the carrier against my body. I'm going to flip that waistband in towards me, and then because I'm going to use a baby who's just about big enough to go in the carrier, I'm actually going to put it really quite high on my body. As your baby gets bigger, you'll naturally migrate the waistband down towards your hips, but for now I'm going to put it relatively high on my body. The lowest I want it really is my natural waist, but this is practically going up under my bust. Take the strap behind me and clip together. Now what Artipoppe want you to do is you've got this sort of hairband elastic here. So once you've got that buckle clipped up, what they want you to do is take that elastic and put it around the buckle. Now the idea behind that is that if your buckle is not done up accurately and it comes undone, it's held in place by that hair elastic thing. Honestly, buckles don't explode as you randomly walk down the street. It's not going to break while you're wearing it. There is a chance that you perhaps haven't done it up properly, but to be fair, I mean, if I take that elastic off, I'll undo it. Now listen to this. Did you hear that? It's pretty obvious when you've done it up properly. If you haven't heard that click, then it's probably not done up properly. But however, that little kind of hairband elastic is so that you can loop it around that buckle and hold it together. Personally, I don't use the safety elastics on any sling or carrier when I'm happy that the carrier is of a good enough quality that the buckle is not going to randomly break on me. Basically because I kind of think that parenting is hard enough without adding the krypton factor to putting on and taking off slings and carriers. However, that's what that elastic is there for. If you choose to use it, then go for it. If you want to snug your carrier up, hold it still in front of you, pull the strap out to your side. This, for a right-handed person, is brilliant. Lots of buckles for some reason do up here, and you have to kind of push it across your body. I don't know if they've done this on purpose. I don't know if they've thought about the proportion of right-handed to left-handed people. I don't know. Or if it's just coincidence. But having it tightening to the right for a right-handed person is just easier. But anyway. So anyway, snug it up. You don't want it tight, so tight that it's going to stop you eating or breathing. But you want it tight enough that the waistband's not going to move around as you're wearing it. You also don't want it loose so that as you put your baby in the carrier, they put weight on the waistband and it does that and kind of falls down your body. There's a couple of things that happen here. It digs in down here and that's not comfortable, particularly if I've had a cesarean section, that wouldn't be comfortable. But also it digs in up here as well. So you want that waistband to stay level on your body. So if I pick it up, hold it nice and snug and tighten it up, then it's going to stay where I've put it. It's going to stay nice and level. Oh. So I've got these two long undone shoulder straps. Now I think if I remember rightly, the instructions tell you to kind of put one on and do one up. What happens, I mean you can, if it works for you, go for it. What I tend to find happens is that when you do that, you've then got this kind of up in your neck muscles and it's not comfortable over time. And it's just not where you're going to want it. So what I tend to do is leave them undone like so. Now grab my baby. This is Sydney. Don't pick your baby up like that. You could be a little bit more gentle with your baby. All I'm going to do is hold Sydney here on my chest with their head on the firm part of my chest, which is where I want my baby to end up. There's no point in me holding my baby up here because this isn't where I want them to end up. So trying to get a sling on them like this is not a lot of use. So I'm going to hold them here where I want them. And then all I want to do is just encourage Sydney into that sort of knees up position. Sydney doesn't have to wrap their legs around me because they might not be willing to do that. But it's also quite hard to get a sling around them if they've got their legs hanging down in front of the body panel. So if I just encourage Sydney to have their knees up, get them into that sort of seated position, then it's a lot easier to get the carrier around them. What you may also notice at this stage is Sydney's bottom isn't up here on top of the waistband. They kind of nestle just in front of the waistband there. Now I can put my hand under the body panel of the carrier and roll it around Sydney's body. At that point, I notice it is just sitting in the nape of Sydney's neck. It's not up past their head, which is going to make it super easy to monitor their airways, but equally it's not halfway down their back where it's not going to be giving them enough support. It's sitting just nicely in the nape of Sydney's neck. If I were using a bigger baby, and as I roll the body panel around them, it doesn't come up to the nape of their neck, I could just loosen my waistband and slightly lower it, and that would give me some of this extra fabric that's kind of hiding up here between the two of us. I could then pull that out and I would get more height in the body panel. But for now, baby this size, sitting nicely in the nape of the neck, I'm going to leave it exactly there. I'm then going to pop those shoulder straps over my shoulders, like so. Now I can already feel that some of Sydney's weight is being taken by the waistband, so I can hold Sydney's upper back with just one hand, and I've then got a free hand. This free hand is going to go through the small of my back. I'm going underneath this first strap that I've come to, and I'm going to grab hold of the strap that's on my opposite shoulder. I'm going to pull that straight down to the floor first, nice and snug. What that does is takes a lot of the slack out from this edge of the carrier and really starts to hug the baby into me. It also anchors this shoulder strap out here on the bony part of my shoulder rather than letting it ride up into my neck muscles. So it's going to be more comfortable for me here. I'm then going to bring that strap low around my body and up to the buckle at the side here. I can plug it in there and then pull backwards to tighten. When you're tightening, keep your hand close to the buckle. If you hold it, the strap out here, you've got very little control over what's going on. You can pull to your heart's content. It's really hard to actually get any purchase on that. So keep your hand near the buckle and pull backwards to tighten. I'm simply then going to swap the hand supporting the baby, take my other hand through the small of my back, grab hold of the strap on my opposite shoulder, pull straight down to the floor, nice and firm. And actually you can do that kind of shoulder roll, and that helps to take some of this slack out as well. Anchors it on the bony part of my shoulder. I'm then going to come low around my body and up to the buckle at the side here. And then I can plug in and pull backwards to tighten. Again, you've got those little hairband safety elastics at the sides. So again, what Artipoppe want you to do is loop that around the whole buckle assembly, so that if the buckle were to randomly explode as you walk down the street, your baby's not going to fall down. They're not going to fall down anyway, it's fine. But you know, there we go. So that's both of those done. I'm going to just make sure my baby's hands are up near their face, so they're not trapped down under those buckles where they can't get to them if they wake up and they suddenly want their hands. So that's the carrier on. In terms of safety, and this is where you're going to know whether or not the carrier is fitting you and your smaller baby. So first things first, there is no extra fabric here around the baby's body. They've got their bottom in the bottom of that pouch of fabric, and they've got their knees comfortably bent over both sides of the carrier. So the carrier isn't kind of halfway down their calf, pushing their legs straight out, or if they've got their knees comfortably bent over the sides, they don't have a whole load of bunched up extra fabric under their bottom that their bottom just isn't in. All their weight is then resting on the back of their knees. Their weight should be on their bottom, and their knees should be comfortably bent over both sides of the carrier. In terms of how to check for the safety, the word to remember is tick. So you want to tick all of your safety boxes. The T stands for tight. The baby should be as tightly held against you as if you're holding them in your arms. You want to be able to put your hand on their head, do a little dip forward, and not feel their body weight pull away from you at all. If it does, then take your slack, push it behind you, pull it round under your arm so you bring the slack towards the buckle, and then tighten. Same on the other side. Bring the slack towards the buckle and tighten. Nice and snug. The I stands for in view. So when you do the ugly double chin maneuver to look down at them, you should be able to see your baby's face without having to move any fabric or go looking for them. So they should be easily visible rather than all the way down in the bottom of the carrier, if that makes sense. The C stands for close enough to kiss. You should just be able to plant one on your baby's head whenever you want to. Honestly, this is mostly a boob-related issue. So if you've got breasts or soft chest tissue, you need to have the baby on the firm part of your chest above that tissue so that the baby doesn't snuggle in to anything soft and squishy that they might obstruct their airway with. So if you don't have breasts, if you've got a broad, flat body landscape, then this is not something you have to worry about quite as much. So stereotypically, men tend to wear babies slightly lower. So if your baby is just out of kissing range, but you don't have those squishy parts up here that could be a hazard to the baby's airway, don't stress too much if they are just out of kissing range, as long as you are happy that their airways are open. Those of us who have soft tissue up here, baby needs to be on the firm part of your chest above that soft tissue so that it's not an airway hazard for them. The K stands for keeping baby's chin off baby's chest. The easiest way to know that their chin is off their chest is when you do that ugly double chin maneuver to look down at them, you should be able to see the tip of their nose. And as long as you can see the tip of their nose and everything above, their chin is off their chest. If they put their chin down onto their chest, you can see, all I can see is the top of Sydney's head, and then I know that I can't guarantee their chin is off their chest. So I need to make sure that I can see the tip of their nose. The S stands for supported spine, and this is one of the reasons that we want to make sure they don't have a load of extra fabric in this body panel, because if I put my hand on Sydney's back and lightly press, Sydney doesn't have any extra space in that carrier that they could slump into, put their chin on their chest and close their airway. If Sydney were too small, then they, excuse me, they may have extra space that they could slump into. What I'll do is, after I get this carrier off, I'm going to put it on again with a smaller baby, and I'll show you what a not a good fit looks like. So there we go. The carrier's on, the straps across nice and low on my back, so it's distributing the weight around most effectively around my torso, and I can tick all of my safety boxes so my baby is safe and secure. To get the carrier off, I'm going to support the baby's weight. I then need to remember to undo my safety elastic, so unloop the elastic, undo the buckle, swap hands, unloop the elastic, undo the buckle, and then you can start to peel the carrier from your baby. Hold your baby and lift them clear. There you go. If you are not taking the whole carrier off, so say for example I was just going to change the baby's nappy and then I'm going out, so I'm just going to keep it on around my middle, what I would suggest you do, thank you Sydney, what I would suggest you do is catch hold of your shoulder straps, find the buckles at the ends, and either put them in your pocket or tuck them into the waistband, so then they're not dangling down in front of you, they're not going to be a trip hazard. You can then dash around the house, getting your last few bits ready before you nip on out, putting the baby back in, or not. Maybe you're going to put the baby in the pram, go out like this just in case they need you, and then you can chuck it back on when the baby needs you. When you go to take the waistband off, don't forget to find your safety elastic in there somewhere. Aha, unloop your safety elastic and then you can undo your buckle. There we go. If that's answered your questions, then great, you can stop the video here. If you've got any questions, you can add them to the comments section down below. But what I'm going to do now is put the carrier back on with a small baby and show you what an unsafe fit looks like. Hello. So this is Robin. Robin is the size of a standard newborn. What I've had to do to get this carrier to fit Robin is squish the sides of the seat in so that Robin can comfortably bend their knees over both sides. What I've then ended up with is a lot of kind of extra fabric here, and my concern would be that this is space that Robin could slump into. If I tighten the body panel, what that does is brings it way too high up Robin's head and brings the head in, but there's still kind of all of this extra space here that worries me. I mean, when I put my hand on their back and lightly press, there is space that they could slump into in that sling, and that would concern me. Also, Robin's head disappears down inside the carrier, so it is a lot harder to be able to monitor their airways. It's much harder to be able to see them, to check whether or not they've got their chin off their chest, because they're kind of all the way down there. I have seen, a couple of weeks ago, I saw somebody with an Artipoppe, they had the baby's feet inside the carrier. And whilst I can see how that takes up some of this extra fabric, it doesn't solve the issue of their head being kind of all the way down inside the carrier. And I'm not 100% convinced that it's not going to be putting extra pressure on the baby's feet. We really don't want their weight on their feet. Their weight should be on their bottom. With the carrier being a bit wide for, I've forgotten this baby, Robin, I forgot this baby's name for a minute. If I pull that seat out onto kind of the setting it's supposed to be on, you can see that it just is down their calf and it pushes their legs straight out. And for a baby of this size, that is not going to be comfortable. And yet when you squidge it in to get it into the backs of their knees so that they can bend their legs, you're then back to having all of this extra fabric that's, yeah, not great. In terms of my ticks safety guidelines, the T stands for tight. If I put my hand on Robin's head, I mean the bit of their head that I can reach, do a little dip forward. I feel their bottom half move away from me, and it's because of this extra fabric. And tightening here isn't really going to solve that. So the eye, are they in view? Well, technically yes, but it's not simple to monitor their airways. There's going to need to be a bit of kind of jigging about to be able to get to them. So not ideal. They're definitely close enough to kiss, that's fine. Am I keeping their chin off their chest? Well, they have no muscle tone, they're made of plastic and sand, they'll sit upright quite happily. I suspect you put an actual newborn this size in this carrier, and what I have seen is that they will slump down into that space that's there. So again, not optimal. And then the S, the supported spine, again, you've got all of this extra fabric, so not ideal. Baby really needs to be a bit bigger than this. So as you saw with Sydney, generally around the sort of 2 to 3 month mark, you're going to get a much better, much safer fit. If you're looking for an alternative carrier to fit at this age, then, I mean, absolutely, a stretchy wrap or a close caboo or something like that if you've got one. If you're not sure how to use them, check out my videos on those. I've also got online courses. Certainly the stretchy wrap course is out already. The close caboo course is like this close to being finished, but it's been this close to being finished for about 6 months now. ADHD. So yeah, I'll get that out at some point. But I do have videos on YouTube of how to use that. If you're looking for a buckled carrier that will kind of fit your baby at this size until they are big enough to fit in the Artipoppe, then something like either the Draco Mum Hatchling carrier or the Ismi baby carrier. Ismi's you can get on the second-hand market very easily, which would certainly cover the gap until your baby's big enough to fit in your Artipoppe. Sorry, Robin. What else would fit? Yeah, I mean, you know, there's lots of options. So yeah, I hope that helps. And I hope the video of putting it on was useful. And I'm going to see what else I can do with this before I have to give it back to its lovely owner. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Bye.